Hello and welcome to another session on women's writing in English. We shall start with The Garden Party and The Garden Party by Catherine Mansfield. After this, we shall take Girls by Mrinal Pandey. So first we will do The Garden Party. Now, Garden Party is written by a very famous writer, a woman writer, a feminist writer, of course, uh, Kathleen Mansfield. Kathleen Mansfield Beauchamp Murray. Now, she left for England or Great Britain. She was born in New Zealand. She was born in the colonial New Zealand on 14th October 1888. But she left for Great Britain in 1908. And she started writing under the pen name of Catherine Mansfield. She can be seen as one of the prime innovators of the short story form. And she was a prominent writer of short fiction as well. Her stories often open rather abruptly, and it focuses on moments of disruption. Okay. And her well-known stories are The Garden Party, The Daughters of the Late Colonel, and The Fly. During the First World War, Mansfield contracted tuberculosis, and this led to her death on 9th January 1923 at the age of 34. Now, The Garden Party was first published in 1922 in a collection entitled The Garden Party and Other Stories. And immediately it became a success. The most anthologized of Mansfield's work incorporates Mansfield's defining themes. It mostly speaks about New Zealand. It speaks about childhood and adulthood. That is a clash between the childhood and adulthood. Social class and class conflicts, innocence and experience. This story also, that is The Garden Party, also opens rather abruptly and is often criticized as having an unsatisfactory ending. Her short stories, or she is most recognized for her modernist short stories, which reflected a vast range of subjects from family values, sexuality, life, death, relationships, to injustice in the society, to social divisions and war. The Garden Party, the short story, The Garden Party, can be seen as an almost an autobiographical portrayal of Mansfield's own experiences. And it tells us a story from the narrator, who is Laura, who's a young girl from a wealthy upper class family, and she discovers the reality of life. It's a growing up age, a growing up of age story, kind of. Because as she confronts the harsh realities of life, there is a transition from that innocent Laura who knows nothing of poverty, who knows nothing of bitterness and the world outside, other than this wealthy world where the Sheridans live, which the Sheridans isolate their children from the rest of the neighborhood, because the place where they live, the street next to it, is occupied by people, by commoners, and therefore the Sheridans have almost isolated their children from them. So here, when there is this garden party, there's a garden party that is about to take place, and suddenly the news of the death of the neighbor reaches Laura and the whole family, and Laura feels sad about it. Laura, in fact, is totally different from the rest of the people in or rest of the Sheridans. She's a very sensitive person, and she's able to internalize the feelings of the Scots, and she feels very sad about it. And through this, or within the scope of the garden party and the death of the neighbor, she discovers the reality of life. So it's a growing up of age story. As for the narration, Mansfield wrote the garden party in limited third person point of view. It is limited in that the author presents the thoughts of Laura only. The personality and outlook of other characters, they reveal themselves only through what they say or what they do, and the rest of it is all shown. The story is portrayed through the thoughts of Laura. Now, the time is early summer in a year in the first decade of the 20th century, and it unfolds. The story unfolds at the estate of a well-to-do upper-class family on Tinnacorry Road in Wellington, which is in New Zealand. And this place, the place in Tinnacorry Road in Wellington, New Zealand, is actually a real-life locale where the author Catherine Mansfield had been living in 1898 when she was in New Zealand. And at a nearby home of a poor lower class family, so this story, it takes place or unfolds at the estate of a well-to-do upper class family, and also near to this family, or near to their estate, lives a person, or lives people of the poor lower class. And there is a road between the two dwellings. That's the road that separates these two dwellings. So this is an autobiographical narration story, a kind of autobiographical story, because Mansfield also grew up in Wellington, attended school there, and furthered her education, or for her education, further education, she went to England in 1903, and then she returned to Wellington in 1906. But after that, she went back to England, and she started to pursue her career as a writer. Her father was a prosperous banker and supported her a lot. So if you look at this story, the garden party, Mr. Sheridan represents her father. Mrs. Sheridan is almost like her, Mrs. Sheridan is somewhat similar to her mother's nature, and Mr. and Mrs. Sheridan can be seen as, or can in fact represent the Mansfields, the Mansfield, who were very overprotective of their children. Okay, so let's move on to the story. The main character of the story is Laura. She is an idealistic young girl who wishes to cancel a party, a planned afternoon gathering, when she get to know of the death of a working class neighbor who is also her neighbor. So the story concerns Laura's alternating moments of resistance and also, conformity to her mother's idea of class relations. She has to conform to her mother's ideas of class relations. It's far more. Her mother's or ideas of class relations are far more powerful, or far from it's too powerful for poor Laura to stop or even encounter. Laura's self-consciousness regarding her own youth and her inexperience is evident whenever she encounters the members of the working class. So right from the beginning itself, we can see how Laura's self-consciousness regarding her youth, as well as her inexperience of the working class group is kind of very evident. Now, this could also have been the case with Catherine Mansfield, because a writer's cultural knowledge is not driven from her, or the writer's cultural knowledge is not just that of imagination, not just driven from imagination, but it is also from her experiences as well. So the writer can internalize the values and ideas of the dominant class, because Catherine herself is from the dominant class. So she can internalize the values and ideas of the dominant class as with her. That's why when you look at Laura, you find the voice of Catherine in it, the voice of the writer in it. Now, like Laura Mansfield, was her father was Harold Beauchamp, who was a prosperous banker and also a businessman, and his wife Annie Burnell Beauchamp is similar to Mrs. Sheridan in The Garden Party. So let's begin. Let me first show you or tell you the characters of the story. The characters in the story, it's not a play, it's a short story, but I thought I'll just tell you the characters of the story. First and foremost, it's Laura Sheridan. She's a pretty teenager who undergoes a conflict on the day of a garden party. She is the protagonist. Laurie Sheridan. Now, Laurie Sheridan is Laura's brother. Okay, don't get confused with the name. Laurie Sheridan is Laura's brother. Laurie could be a nickname for Lawrence. Okay. Meg and Jose. They are sisters of Laura and Laurie. Okay. Mrs. Sheridan. She is the class-conscious mother of the Sheridan children. Mr. Sheridan is the husband of Mrs. Sheridan and father of these children. Mr. Scott is the neighbor, and he's a car driver. He is right from the beginning. We are shown. Nothing is spoken about him other than his death. The only thing that where he comes is when he's dead. So he's a car driver, and he's killed in an accident. His family lives in a settlement of commoners down the road from the Sheridan's home. Now, there are also other minor characters. M is a grieving widow of the cart driver, and the women in black, the woman in black is the sister of M. Then there is Kitty Maitland, who is the friend of Laura. There you will also find a florist who just who, it's like a guest appearance alone. Florist, that's a person who delivers lilies to the Sheridan's home before the garden party. Now, why am I picking all these minor characters and minor things? It's because this is it is filled with symbolism. Though the plot follows a chronological sequence with few flashbacks to provide a background detail, there is uh, the story unfolds only later. Mm. And uh, there are so many other at a first glance we may feel that story is just the coming of age of a young girl, or it is just the coming of age of the protagonist Laura. But you must remember that the story carries many undertones of comparison between the extremities in life and existence, as well as social prejudices. There are so many undertones of you know of several things in the story. That's why I'm picking out few, even the minor things. We can't leave out even the minor things, because only then we'll be able to understand. um, it is filled with symbolism. That's a symbolism is yet another feature that should be addressed in the story. First and foremost, you have hat. We'll be coming to it. Hat of Laura, her dress. Then you also have the lilies, which become or these the lilies that are delivered by this florist. These lilies are also a symbol. You will find the marquee as a symbol. You will find the trees, the karaka trees as a symbol, and so on. So you have a lot of symbolism here. You will also find social prejudices of the rich regarding the poor, and that is portrayed through the attitude of Mrs. Sheridan and Joe. Joe's is Laura's sister. So through them, we get to understand the social prejudices of the rich regarding the poor. And another important theme is death, joy, and sorrow, and pleasure and suffering. All these all these are important things that she touches upon. uh, you will find the contrast there. You will find the contrast, a play of contrast between beauty and ugliness, wealth and poverty, childhood and adulthood, life and death, joy and sorrow, pleasure and suffering. So these philosophical implications relate to the human existence. So this theme is the most noteworthy feature of Mansfield's writing, uh, where her own philosophy of life is, very beautifully portrayed. So let's then move on to the story. Okay. The garden party. And after all the weather and after all the weather was ideal. They could not have had a more perfect day for a garden party if they had ordered it. Windless, warm, the sky without a cloud. Only the blue was veiled with a haze of light gold, as it is sometimes in early summer. The gardener had been up since dawn, mowing the lawns and sweeping them until the grass and the dark flat rosettes uh, where the daisy plants had been seemed to shine. As for the roses, you could not help feeling they understood that roses are the only flowers that impress people at garden parties. The only flowers that everybody is certain of knowing. Hundreds, yes, literally hundreds, had come out in a single night. The green bushes bowed down as though they had been visited by archangels. Breakfast was not yet over before the men came to put up the marquee. Where do you want the marquee put up, mother?